In this podcast, I'm going to provide you a few organic alternatives that I think you should absolutely be using before you go on antidepressant medication. You or someone you know is using antidepressants, but you haven't tried everything that we're going to discuss in this podcast. I think you're doing yourself a disservice. Welcome to another episode of the Contemporary Happiness Podcast. I'm your host, David Nima. I'm an attorney by trade, author of the book, Good Problems to Have, The Anatomy of Contemporary Happiness. And in this podcast, we discuss being happy in contemporary times through the lens of diet, exercise, and mindset. In today's episode, we are going to discuss organic alternatives to antidepressants. You may have seen in recent news or in previous videos in this channel that there's been a tremendous spike in antidepressant usage in the United States over the last 10 years. And the United States has the highest per capita antidepressant prescriptions in the world. Now, I'm all for curing your depression. In this podcast, I'm going to provide you a few organic alternatives that I think you should absolutely be using before you go on antidepressant medication. If you or someone you know is using antidepressants, but you haven't tried everything that we're going to discuss in this podcast, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. In my opinion, I think you should try all of these organic solutions first. And if they still don't work, then you can resort to prescription antidepressants. So let's get right into it. One of the first things that you can do to cure your depression or to help your depression is by practicing gratitude. Practicing gratitude and being grateful for the blessings that you have has been shown to reduce anxiety and to increase one's happiness. Practicing gratitude and being grateful is a tremendous antidepressant. I discuss practicing gratitude in the book, Good Problems to Have, The Anatomy of Contemporary Happiness. And practicing gratitude is very easy. All you got to do is just sit down and observe the good things about your life that you have. As I discuss in my book, you got to have from a bottom-up approach when it comes to gratitude. That means instead of kind of thinking to yourself, what are the things that are lacking in my life? What you want to do is think to yourself, what are the things that I do have in my life? And you want to start with the super basics. For example, for myself, I'm grateful that I can see. I'm grateful that I have my sense of hearing. I'm grateful that I can move my arms around. I'm grateful that I can walk around, right? I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head. I'm grateful that I know where my next meal is coming from. These are basic things that a lot of people feel that are entitled to. But me, on the other hand, I feel grateful for these things. And if you look at your life and you look at your blessings from a bottom-up approach in terms of gratitude, you are guaranteed to be more happy and to reduce your depression and your anxiety. Next, we're going to talk about sleep. Sleep is one of those things that can tremendously impact your mood. And my suggestion to you is to practice getting good sleep. One of the ways that I practice good sleep is that I go to sleep with the sun. I essentially usually fall asleep within a couple of hours after sunset, and I usually wake up with the sunrise. And this helps me kind of regulate my sleep according to the sun rhythm and the sun pattern around my house. So sleep, whatever method that you can use to get good sleep, not using sleeping pills, but kind of natural, organic ways that you can induce good regular sleep, that's guaranteed to help your anxiety and lower your depression and increase your happiness. Next is sex. Sex is a proven activity that will increase the endorphins in your body and improve your mood. So sex can be very healthy. It is a tremendous cure for depression and anxiety, and healthy sex is highly recommended for anyone who's suffering from depression and anxiety. And I think that you should practice having good sex on a regular basis, and that's guaranteed to help your mood and improve your mood and lower your depression and anxiety. The next organic alternative to antidepressants is sweating. I'm a huge fan of sweating, of breaking a sweat. Do whatever you need to do to break a sweat on a regular basis. You don't have to be sweating all day, every day, but whether it's that 45-minute walk or some other kind of cardiovascular activity, anything that you can do, lifting weights, going for a walk, having sex, whatever that you need to do to induce your body to break a sweat. Once you break a sweat, there's so many chemical reactions that are happening in your body. And again, this is a proven way of reducing anxiety and improving your mood and lowering your depression. Sweat on a regular basis. Next is smiling. Smiling is automatically induces your brain to feel happy. I don't care what kind of mood you're in. I don't care how difficult it might be to force a smile on your face. As you can see, just my tone sounds different while I'm smiling. Smiling probably should have been at the top of this list. Smiling is the number one and most powerful and most instant cure to depression. And I highly recommend that you practice smiling regularly. Put a picture of a big happy face on your wall, whatever it is that you need to do to put a smile on your face, even if it's forced. Your brain doesn't know the difference, and it's a tremendous cure for depression, and it's a tremendous mood booster, in my opinion. Smile often. Next is eating high energy foods. Eating high energy foods can tremendously impact your mood in a positive way. You want to stay away from oily foods, basically, and you want to have high energy food. You want to eat high energy foods such as fruits, protein, things with omega-3 fatty acids. If you've seen my previous videos, I recommend eating foods that are mentioned in the Bible and just staying away from fast foods and foods that are cooked in saturated oil or just anything other than olive oil, in my opinion, is not good for you. And food has a tremendous impact on our moods. And I think you want to focus on high energy foods and stay away from processed foods as much as you can. This is guaranteed to improve your mood in a positive way. And lastly, the whole premise of my book and this channel is to have a positive perspective on your problems. When you have a positive attitude on your life and have an optimistic attitude on your life. Now, again, we all have problems in our lives, but it's having the correct perspective on those problems that can tremendously impact your mood. I highly recommend that you practice positivity and look at your problems as good problems to have. Problems can certainly bring us down. However, when you have a positive perspective on your problems, you essentially have an antidote to this negative influence, which is problems. And this is a tremendous mood booster. And I highly recommend that you practice having a positive perspective on your problem. That's all I talk about in chapter 1 of the book, of how you can kind of hack your brain to view your problems in a positive way. And I guarantee that that's going to affect your mood and lower your depression and anxiety. So those are a few of my suggestions for organic alternatives to antidepressants. Again, I highly recommend that you or anyone that you know that is on antidepressant to practice the things that I'm mentioning on this list. And once you kind of practice and you exhaust these methodologies of reducing depression and you still find yourself in a depressed state, then consider antidepressants. I'm not against antidepressants or medication or seeing a therapist for your problems. However, I think it's beneficial to first seek out these organic, natural ways to improve your mood. And once you've exhausted these modalities, then you can resort to antidepressants. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Contemporary Happiness Podcast on YouTube. I'm your host, David Nima, and I'll see you all in the next episode.